Hello and welcome to Footnotes the Cicerone podcast, a podcast to inspire you about outdoor travel and activities in the UK and across the world. I'm Hannah and I hope you enjoy this episode. You can always email me with your thoughts or questions on live@cicerone.co.uk and I'd love to hear from you. Today I'm talking to Sara Wild, who is the owner of Mont Blanc Treks and a qualified international mountain leader. We're going to talk to her about how she lives up to her surname and why she set up Mont Blanc Treks. So hi, thanks for joining me, Sara.
Hello there. Hi.
So what came first, the hobby or the name?
What, the wild?
Yeah.
The wild. Fortunately, yeah, I've tried to live up to my name since day one, really. Just being outdoors, basically. Teaching for many years at secondary, teaching outdoor education as well as design. That was my main subject, but taught outdoor ed as well. And then moved over to the Alps in 2007. Just a place that I just loved to be. Used every scrap of holiday that I could whilst I was teaching. So headed to the Alps every summer and every winter for the Christmas holidays and Easter, etc. What brought me to setting up Mont Blanc Treks.
I feel like this is quite a familiar story for a lot of people is, started out doing this sort of day job and just spending my holidays going away and exploring. And then, your day job was already in a related thing if you were doing outdoor ed, but it's turning that passion into your full-time job, which is quite a bold step, especially for women. It's quite a big thing to do. How was it with the setting up of the company?
So in 2007, headed over there with my family, and then I needed to do something to start with because I needed to earn some money. I obviously had a full-time job in the UK as a teacher. So I just thought, well, what can I do? I don't really want to look at teaching again. My French at that point wasn't good enough. So I thought I need to do something with outdoor ed. So what I did is, in the meantime, I sort of did the usual sort of working in chalets and cleaning and all sorts of kind of jobs like that. And then I took advantage. I already had a mountain leader qualification from work in the UK. So I looked at joining the International Mountain Leader Programme. So I did that via Capel Curig, the programme, the Baymel programme and the mountain training qualification. And then I started to do a bit of work or assisting bigger companies like Explore, Exodus and that sort of thing. And I thought I could do that better myself. So no disrespect to Explore and Exodus, but there was things that I thought that, could be more personalised business-wise and give people just a much better experience. So I set up Mont Blanc Treks back in 2010, just guiding some treks myself during the summer, and it's just continued from there, really.
Well, coming from, Cicerone Press, we're a small family independent business founded because of the passion in the outdoors and the belief in what we do. And same, 50 odd years ago, it was no one else is doing this, let's do it. And because we're all still outdoorsy people, we try to spend a lot of our time thinking about what could be better, from the user's perspective, because we are also the users.
It was just giving people the service that I would expect myself. I've spent so much time in this area of the Alps since in my 20s, climbing, skiing, walking, whatever. So, I have got an absolute passion for the place and I know it extremely well. Sort of devoted quite a lot of my time over the last 30 odd years, to that area of the world. So, yeah, and I just absolutely love sharing that passion with folk. It's just totally amazing to see people coming out and enjoying themselves and just the feedback that, from their experience, their holidays. I mean, it can't get much better than that, really. Good job satisfaction. So
yeah, exactly. You've picked a belter. You are Mont Blanc Treks. Why Mont Blanc? Why did you pick that as the focus for all your excitement?
That's where I've spent all my time since my early 20s, in the Chamonix Valley and just the surrounding mountains, really. So, for instance, the Tour of Mont Blanc, I did it myself. Then I did it with my children when they were tiny. My son and my daughter, I mean, they're in their 20s now, but, they trekked the Tour de Mont Blanc when they were sort of 6 or 7 years old. They're all amazing, the treks over there, and the trails, but so why Mont Blanc? Because that's, I suppose, where, my experience lies really, and my passion lies.
The Tour of Mont Blanc itself is just, it's often described as the best of the best.
Yeah.
It really is like a headline trek that if you only could do one trek, it's incredible, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
With just headline after headline after headline.
Yeah, absolutely. We offer a number of treks. I mean, we try and specialise in that area of Europe. We have more recently diversified a little bit, but the best of the best has got to be the Tour de Mont Blanc. It is just an amazing trek, and it's definitely my favourite. I never get fed up of it. I've trekked it many, many times, and it is stunning. It's just a bit unique. The fact that you're trekking through 3 countries, the views are absolutely amazing day after day. Yeah, I mean, the terrain is completely different, one day to the next. Yeah, it's a great trek. It's absolutely, you can't get much better than that, really.
Have you ever run it? They do the ultra one.
Yeah, in a previous life. I'm too old for all of that now, but yeah. I mean, I think just being there in that sort of area, that area of the world, you get sort of like swept away with all of the ultra trail sort of stuff. So after a couple of years of living there full time, I got involved in doing various ultra races, did the ultra trial, the UTMB, the CCC, the TDS, all of those. But like I say, that was quite a while ago now. I can't even run anymore, to be honest. I've done too much, all that stuff. I'm just quite happy trekking in the mountains now.
Well, we were talking actually to Nikki Spinks a few weeks ago about doing the Tour of Monte Rosa as a race, and saying that it's all well and good running it, but she's pushing to go as fast as possible, and she just said, I wouldn't have minded a bit more time to look at the views.
Absolutely. I mean, that was just a personal challenge, at that time of my life, in my mid-40s, when I had a lot more energy and my body actually functioned a little bit better than it does now. But yeah, so I often get clients saying, how quick can we do this? I mean, not clients that want to run it, but just clients that have got limited time on holiday and they just want to come and bash it out in like sort of 6 days. And I just think, if you've got the time, do not rush it. Do it in a normal, steady fashion, because it is just soak up the scenery and, just the villages, the accommodation, the culture. It's very different. You're trekking through France and then you go into Italy and then into Switzerland. And although, it's all that Alpine region, but actually they're very different, when you step through into Italy. So just take the time and just soak it up, because it's, often for people, it's a once in a lifetime sort of a chance, especially if there's so much to do in the world, and a lot of our clients are traveling great distances to do it. So if you're going to travel a great distance to do it, then you might just take your time.
And you've got to make sure you make the most of all the food and the wine.
Absolutely.
That's what we've been told this a lot of times, that, the huts change and the food changes between the 3 stages of the trek. So you can't rush it, really.
Yeah.
So we just ran a competition with you guys to give away a free place on the Tour of Mont Blanc. Why is it that you do that? I mean, it's very generous, obviously, but there's a bit more of a reason behind it.
Well, for me, it's about, sharing the experience, with folk, and it just gives an opportunity to somebody that would not normally have that opportunity. I get just as much out of that as it's not a commercial thing for me running this company. Yes, it's great to earn a living out of it, but that's not the primary reason that I do it. It's just a lifestyle, and if I can share that with somebody that wouldn't not normally have that opportunity, then absolutely.
I think what you said before about it's not necessarily just a commercial thing. When you're working in the outdoors, you have to be doing it for passion as much, if not more, than you're doing it for the money, because, making guidebooks doesn't make loads of money. Taking people on walks doesn't make loads of money. It's good that there's that passion there to build on. Otherwise, you'd probably get quite frustrated.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you mentioned the oat route before. So tell us a little bit about that.
Obviously, it's a local trek to us. So, we've over the years, I've tried to sort of focus on, what's on the doorstep. So Chamonix Aiguilles, it's an amazing trek. It's not as popular as the Tour de Mont Blanc. We've been trying to work out why that is. It is harder. It's a step up, I would say, from the Tour de Mont Blanc. So perhaps that's why perhaps people just think it's a bit out of reach. Yeah, it's an absolutely amazing trek. Physically moving and trekking from hiking from Chamonix to Zermatt to these are two majorly impressive historic alpine towns, and all that you see on the way, trekking mainly in Switzerland, because I mean you're only in France for the first half day, but you're walking past some absolutely humongous 4,000 meter plus peaks all the way. And the prize, obviously the prize at the beginning is Mont Blanc, and then you're passing the Grand Combin, various other Swiss 4,000 meter peaks, and then the carrot at the end is the Matterhorn, of course, the mighty Matterhorn, which is just, that's just a dream peak. It's when I was little, I used to just dream of climbing the Matterhorn. I never have, but way too old for that now.
It is a good one. It's always good when we get the photos of the Matterhorn. It just looks so striking all the time. Another nice thing about those routes is, I know you're saying that the haute route, the Chamonix Zermatt, is harder than Tour of Mont Blanc, but because you're not going up and down the entire mountains, it's not like you've got to go up the 4,000 meters. There is the up and down, because you've still got to go through the valleys, and it's not out of reach for the average walker, is it?
Oh, God, no, not at all. Absolutely not at all. No. I just think there's a preconception that it is by some people. Maybe that's because, of course, it's a ski touring route, and there is the glacial route as well. So, I think there's often maybe the bit of confusion and a bit of preconception that it's going to be too difficult for folk. But it's when I say it's harder, I just think it's just a notch higher than the Tour de Mont Blanc. There's some, particularly one section where you go a little bit higher, you go up to 3,000 meters rather than trekking sort of up to 2006, 7. So it's a bit lunar-like, it's a bit bouldery, it's a bit more challenging underfoot. But it's absolutely, if you love the mountains and you have experience of trekking in the mountains.
And the other thing that you offer is the guided trips or the self-guided. So I suppose if people aren't as sure, then they can choose to go on the guided trip and just get an extra security.
Yeah, absolutely. So we offer the both. I used to guide them myself, and then I had a couple of other folk that I work with to share the guiding during the summer. But then, yes, I mean, we provide the self-guided as well, to folk. So we do all the organisation for them, book all the accommodation and provide them with all the maps and route cards and everything. So, and provide the support. So, depending on what kind of an experience you want, you've got the both to choose from. And if you're not quite sure, then some people, if they're traveling on their own, they book on the guided trips, because it's just a completely different experience with the guided trip. The guide's not only just route finding and guiding you through the mountains. It's all about the sort of the flora and the fauna and the geology and the history of the area as well, because all the guides that I work with, they're all very experienced in that area. They've either lived there full time, or they spend the summers in the Alps.
And I think the other thing about Mont Blanc Treks is there's so much there. It's kept you coming back. You said since your 20s. There's so many different options you can do, and even doing the same route a couple of times, you can have a really different experience on it and see different people in the huts. And
yeah. So
there's plenty to go at, isn't there?
Oh my, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the treks that we've just talked about, is just the tip of the iceberg, really. There's so much to do out there, and the lesser known treks as well that are the little hidden gems, as we call them, like the Grand Paradiso and the Vanoise, National Park. They're just stunning. They're largely unknown. Well, I wouldn't say they're unknown, but when you go and visit, the first time I hiked on the Traverse of the Grand Paradiso with a friend of mine, we were just doing a recce, and I just thought, have I gone wrong here? Am I completely off the route? And it was because there was nobody around, apart from the ibex. People, there's the lesser known sort of areas to trek, and often what we get is clients that come out and they do the Tour de Mont Blanc, and then they'll want to come back and do the haute route, and then they'll say, what else can we do? And that's why, we've sort of built up a bit of a repertoire, really, of local treks that we can offer, because we do get that interest, people coming back time and time again and want to do something new.
Yeah, we've got guidebooks for all of those treks that we've just mentioned. We update them, every couple of years. When they need updating, we'll update them. And Jonathan and Leslie quite recently did the Vanoise, and the photographs that came back, oh man, they were just amazing. There's a struggle at the top of my wish list.
Well, it's great because those two national parks are back to back. Obviously on the Italian side you've got the Gran Paradiso, and on the French side you've got the Vanoise National Park. So they're just stunning. I'm an absolute fan of the Cicerone guidebooks. I have shelves full of them. Because if there's a guidebook, if I'm thinking of doing a new route, I always look to see if the Cicerone do a guidebook on it first. That's my first port of call.
We didn't ask you to say this.
No, it's absolutely true. No, it's absolutely true. Yeah, they're absolute great guidebooks. They really are. And that's what we send out to our clients. We send out the Tour of Mont Blanc to the Walkers Out route and the Alta Via one out to the guided groups. So they each receive a copy so they can have a read up before they travel to the Alps. And then we also include it in the self-guided pack as well for the self-guided folk.
Yeah, it's nice with the guidebooks, actually. I think I speak to people sometimes and they're like, oh, no, I'm going on a guided trip. I don't need a book. And you think, well, that's true. You don't need the navigation aspect. But there's so many things of whilst you're walking here, you might see this like sculpture on the right, and this is what this means, and this is who made it. And there's all those incidental things that I think it's really nice to have anyway. It's not going to be the cheapest thing you ever do if you're trekking through Switzerland. So you might as well spend a little bit extra on the book. But I guess I would say that.
Yeah. But no, we started sending them out to the guided clients a couple of years ago. And, it's just a great thing to have for them to look through, for the couple of months before they arrive. And that's what I do. If I'm going on a new trip somewhere else in the world that I've never been to before, I always try and buy guidebooks and maps before I go. And then, I can arrive a little bit more informed, really. And then obviously keep it with me all the time that I'm out there to refer to. But
I am such a bookish person. The first thing I do, anything, I'm like, oh, I wonder if there's a book on that.
Absolutely. And then the second thing is the map.
Yeah. But my little brother will just go, oh no, I just YouTube it. He never thinks just to go to a book. But that is very much, I'm sure there's a generational thing in it as well. But
yeah, I'm a bit old school, I'm afraid. I like physical things to look through. We still send a pack of information out to our clients. It contains all the maps and books and the route cards printed on waterproof paper, and so it's very sort of old school, really. And people could just sort of say, well, why do you not just do it all electronically? But I think in the world we live in, when you've got a chance to get out in the mountains, the last thing you want to do is look at your phone, surely.
Yeah, it's kind of a perpetual discussion, isn't it, that people have, how much you can rely on digital, and it certainly it's got its advantages, but I just like the tactile thing of having a book, getting cozy and looking at a book and getting excited. It's kind of part of the trip for me.
Absolutely.
Moving on from Europe, I know you are called Mont Blanc Treks, but you have started to do a few further afield things. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, yeah. So what we don't want to do is just, like a lot of companies will offer treks all over the world. Often what happens, well, the majority of the cases, they just subcontract it to a company that's based over there. So they're just the front men, if you like. I've no interest in doing that whatsoever. But what we do want to do is provide an experience elsewhere in the world for new clients, existing clients, that sort of thing. So what we decided to do a few years ago was every year go and recce something different, whether it's in Europe or elsewhere, and then provide that the following year as a sort of best of in other amazing places in the world. And often they won't be self-guided, they'll be guided, but they'll be guided by ourselves, but also using local guides and local logistics. In 2019, I went back over to Nepal, did some more trekking in the Annapurna area, and then put together an itinerary based on my experience, but also in liaising with a company that's based over there. And that was meant to happen in 2020, in October 2020, but of course that all had to be shelved. That's happening this autumn, so that's going to be October, which is postponed from 2020.
So many things still are, aren't they?
I know. So we have a group, a really great group of folks that have booked on that trek, and they're all existing clients, to be honest. In fact, actually, that's not the case. There's two that haven't trekked with Mont Blanc Treks before. So it's just trying to just share the experience. And when I very first went to Nepal, 2015 or something like that, I didn't really know where to start. It was like, well, where do we go? This is huge. This is just a massive, massive place. Where do I start? So, and I wish, I'd had that sort of, could tap into that information, that sort of bit of experience then. So you and so after that first time I went, I thought, well, if I went again, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go there, but I'd go there and I'd sort of, and so that's what I've tried to do for our clients. I've tried to come up with an itinerary that's a bit foolproof, that just gets the best of, and cuts out any of the things that you wouldn't perhaps do again, or you wouldn't go there again for whatever reasons, So that's what we've done there. And that's happening this October. And then we've got other ideas. I've also reckoned a great route in the Atlas Mountains. That was back in 2016. So that's another one that's in the pipeline, and we'll be doing that next year for 2023. It's a similar sort of thing. And it'll always be with Mont Blanc Treks, a guide, whether it's me or whether it's another of the great guides that we have that work with us. Yeah, and also using a local company. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, I think there's been so many people that have been stopped from doing what they normally do. And I think a lot of trekkers are people that need to go and do a trek. It's like it's a reset for them. So having a couple of years where you've not really been able to get out and do stuff, I'm wondering whether there's just going to be this massive explosion of trekkers, or, I guess people's situations are different, but the people that have just sort of been waiting to do it, they might be desperate to get back out.
Yeah, absolutely. Travel's back on. Absolutely. I mean, we were lucky last year because we our American clients could travel last summer to the Alps. So we did have a half reasonable summer last summer, but this year, yeah, we're sort of back up to speed with people from everywhere. We've not seen Australian clients since 2019. Even the Brits couldn't really get to us last year. It was just too complicated with all the lockdowns and opening up and locking down again, and it was just too uncertain for people. So, but yeah, no, it's back on track, I should say.
We're in touch with a lot of mega enthusiasts, as you'd expect. That's kind of our core customer base is mega enthusiasts, and I was quite impressed at how many of them managed to get away and do stuff during the pandemic. They were in a fortunate position where they could just go, the rules are changing from Monday, right? I'm going on Monday. and it was quite astonishing that people on our Facebook group would say, I've just managed to do this trip, and you think, wow, I didn't even manage to get a Sainsbury's trip done last week. Well done, you.
Yeah. No, we had a few clients that came from the UK. They just said, we're just gonna self-isolate when we get back, but we need to walk in the mountains, in Europe. So we did have a few people that just, they thought the price, that was a small price to pay for an adventure, trekking in the mountains, and it's fairly safe, I would say, trekking in the mountains. There's, it's probably one of the sort of safest, COVID-free.
The air doesn't get much fresher. Anything else from you that you feel like we've we've not covered?
No, not at all. I mean, it's just really nice to speak to you. Thanks for the opportunity to contribute to your podcast.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming along and telling us about why you set up Mont Blanc Treks and where you're planning to travel next. And so if people want to find out more about you, what can they do?
The main source of information is just via the website. I've spent a lot of time over the years putting all that information together, and it's regularly updated. We have a news page, we have our own blog as well. So there's a wealth of information on the website, and that is just at montblanctreks.com. Yeah, and if you need any answers to any questions, just drop me. The folk can just send an inquiry or drop me an email personally, which is Sara at SRA without the H at montblanctreks.com. So via any method you wish. We're obviously also on the social media sites. So we've got the Facebook page and Instagram, etc. So yeah, which way you prefer.
We will put the links in the show notes for this episode as well. So if anybody wants to go and like and follow and email Sara and find out more about their treks, then I suggest you give it a go. It's been really nice to talk to you.
Thanks very much.
I hope you enjoyed the latest episode of Footnotes, the Cicerone podcast. I'd love to know what you think, or if there's anything you'd like us to cover in future episodes. Please email live@cicerone.co.uk or leave a review on your podcast platform. You can follow or subscribe to the podcast to make sure you don't miss new episodes, or you can sign up to our newsletter for all our latest news, events and guidebooks. Visit cicerone.co.uk for further details. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. In the meantime, come and find us on our social channels. We're on all the main ones as @Cicerone Press, and we also have a Facebook group, Cicerone Connect, where you can meet and chat to other outdoor enthusiasts. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you soon.